Welcome back, everyone. Before I introduce Dr. Klaper, I want to remind you about some excellent resources that we have in the bookstore. We have shown at our club some of his DVDs, Sense and Nonsense in Nutrition, Salt, Sugar, and Oil, which you may have seen here earlier this week, Digestion Made Easy, which is fantastic, and another helpful DVD, Understanding Your Blood Test Results. So I highly recommend any and all of these to take back with you as a resource. With that said, Dr. Michael Klaper is a graduate of the University of Illinois College of Medicine in Chicago and has practiced acute care medicine in Hawaii, Canada, California, Florida, and New Zealand. To improve the health of his patients as well as his own and to minimize suffering of sentient beings, Dr. Klaper adopted a plant-based diet in 1981. A longtime radio host and a pilot, Dr. Klaper has served as nutrition advisor to NASA's programs for the space colonists on the Moon and Mars, and on the Nutrition Task Force of the American Medical Students Association. I'd also like to add that one of his new missions is to educate upcoming medical students. And if you are a medical student or know of any medical students in your community, please refer them to Dr. Klaper at his website. He's authored numerous articles on plant-based nutrition and is authoring a book on using plant-based medicine to arrest and reverse disease. Dr. Klaper has practiced nutritionally based medicine at True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California for the past 8 years, and his talent for presenting complex medical topics in a simple, enjoyable format has made him a sought-after speaker at health conferences worldwide. It's my honor and joy to present to you Dr. Michael Klaper.
Thank you for coming. So the topic of the afternoon is healthy bones. And bones are one of my favorite organs in the body, underappreciated. Without them, we would just be a pool of fleshy jelly on the floor there. It's just our structure. And I would like to sing the glory of bones for a few minutes here because people have a real misunderstanding of these amazing organs. That people generally think that their bones are these dead rods of chalky calcium going down your arms and your legs there, and you just need to drink enough milk and take enough calcium tablets to keep you strong, and what's with all this osteoporosis stuff anyway? So if that's where we're starting, let me take us on a journey that will give you a much more dynamic and exciting picture of these wonderful structures that make us look and function as we do. The reality is that your bones are alive. They are gloriously alive. They have a very rich blood supply. The surface of the bones is covered with a canvas-like membrane, the periosteum, and in this periosteal membrane runs the arteries and the veins, and bones have a very rich blood supply, as any orthopedic surgeon or anesthesiologist will tell you in the operating room, because of the bone they certainly be. And it's the blood flow that I want to focus on because it's a symbol of how dynamically alive your bones are. When you look at the bones under the microscope in cross-section, there's lots of struts and buttresses making up the matrix of the bone, and in between the struts and the buttresses are these holes, these spaces. And in these spaces, and actually in the struts and buttresses themselves at a microscopic level, live hundreds of millions of cells that keep your bones healthy and keep them alive. The cells of the bones come in two general flavors. Osteoblasts build up new bone, and osteoclasts break down old bone. It's so easy to understand why you want cells to build up new bone, and the osteoblasts are always working. Why do you want cells that dissolve the bone? What in the world use is that? Well, the osteoclast, clasto is to break. Okay, a thermoclastic is to break by heat. Iconoclast, break down and bring down the idols. Clasto is to break something up. And why would you want cells that break down the bone? Because life is a context. And every time you bang your elbow on the dresser or smack your shin on the coffee table, little micro cracks appear in the bone matrix. And these micro cracks, it happen every time you step down hard on a step or you bang your head. You're constantly causing these little micro fractures. And you want to fix them quickly, because if you don't, just like a crack in your car windshield, if you just neglect it, you're going to watch that crack extend and extend and extend. And that's exactly what would happen in our bones. And nature knows this, your body knows this. And as soon as one of these little micro cracks appear, your bones are immediately moved to repair it. How do they do it? Well, there's a great construction engineer somewhere here who knows what they're doing, because just like on a construction site, in a big city skyscraper, the first thing you do, you put up all the tarpaulins around everything to catch the dust, and you bring in the demolition team to tear out the old walls, to bring down the whole building if you have to get rid of the old decayed structure so you can put on some new tightly engineered structure. And that's what the osteoclasts do. They come in to see where these little micro cracks are, and they're full of enzymes that dissolve bone. And they come in and they secrete their enzymes, and the old cracked bone dissolves, and then the osteoclasts leave, and they say, okay, bring in the construction guys, and the osteoblasts come in and they lay down new bone. It's just a brilliant, elegant, beautiful mechanism that's ongoing. It's happening in all our bodies as we're standing here now. The process is called bone remodeling, and these are the two teams that make it happen. This is a cartoon graphic, obviously, demonstration of the types of cells. If you really stain them and look under a real bone on a real microscope, it's going to look like this. And this protein material is the bone matrix. Here's the osteoblast that lay down a new bone. Here's a big old osteoclast that has just come in to dissolve this little cracked bone, and he's leaking to allow the osteoblast to come in and create new bone. So bones are dynamic. They are always moving and changing, and they are capable of adapting to the world around them, which is really, really important to understand. You want to keep your bones as strong as possible. You want those osteoblasts to lay down lots of rich, thick bone matrix, so these bones, if you do take a fall, you lift up a little, the bone doesn't crumble. So the key thing is, what you need to do to keep these osteoblasts healthy? What do you need to do to keep them laying down new bone matrix so those bones stay strong? What do you need to use in this biological world? What do you think you need to do? You need to use them. It's the very act of lifting something with a weight that stresses the bone. Every step you take with a weight on your shoulder, a little wow of gravitational force goes down your spine and down your pelvis and down your hip bones. And in doing so, they distort the bone ever so slightly, and that generates an electrical impulse that wakes up the osteoblast. And they say, hey, man, all this electrical juice on your head must be using the bones here. Let's lay out some new bone matrix. And they do. And it's the using of the bones, especially against gravity, that stimulate the osteoblast to lay down new bone. You absolutely have to understand that these people should never, ever develop osteoporosis. And this is how we used to spend our lives. We didn't live in offices and on freeways. We used to be out growing our food and thatching the roof and growing our vegetables and harvesting firewood, keeping ourselves warm. This lady will never get osteoporosis. She's spending her day in a garden, using heavy tools, lifting heavy buckets of soil. Her bones are going to stay strong. Osteoporosis will never be entered on this lady's chart as long as she stays active and eating healthy as she is. The more you use the bones, the stronger they get, and this is not wishy-washy California woo stuff. This is real science designated by Dr. Julian Wolfe back in the 1890s. He knows, he did some experiments and saw clearly that the more people and animals use their bones, the bigger and stronger those bones got. And indeed, if you do bone density studies on professional tennis players, The bone density in their serving arm is significantly greater than in their non-dominant arm. And Dr. Wolf laid out the law that every single physician, at least in my generation, learned in first-year physiology. And every doctor who looks condescendingly at you and says, oh my dear, you've got osteoporosis, you need to take bisphosphonates, all of them have either forgotten Wolff's Law or they are willingly denying its reality. But Wolff's Law clearly says that bone in a healthy person and animal will adapt to the loads in which it is placed. This is not theoretical, you can see it under the microscope. If you ask a structural engineer to please outline the lines of force in your hip when you stand up, how do the forces of compression go down the bone? He'll draw them. There's an inner table and an outer table, and the forces go right down the inner and outer bone tables. Well, sure enough, here you can see exactly what's happening. Here you see the osteoblasts lining up along the lines of force. Here's Wolff's Law at work. You see out there, those osteoblasts can feel how the force lines are coming down, and that's exactly where they're going to put down their bone material to keep those bones strong. Wolff's Law is really important. And these people are taking full advantage of Wolff's Law, and that's why they're not going to get osteoporosis. This is how 19th century and 18th century and 16th century life in America was. And osteoporosis was not a disease that the doctors back then, until World War II really, had to deal with. But welcome to the 21st century. We don't spend our lives doing kind of physical work. Who are we kidding? Instead of up and moving, we sit. You get up for breakfast and you go to the breakfast table and you sit. Time to go to work, you get in the car, bus, train, you sit. Make it to the office, find your place to work, you sit down and you sit. You sit all morning, till it's time for lunch, you go to the restaurant, the cafeteria, you sit. Time for your afternoon work session, come back to the computer station, you sit. Time to go home, get on the bus, get on the car, get on the train, you sit. You walk in your front door, turn on the TV, turn on the news, get the press, and sit. Then you go into the dining room, have dinner where you sit, go back to the computer, answer the email where you sit, and you're in bed. And this is modern life. What have you asked of your bones as far as keeping them strong? Nothing. We sit, we sit, we sit. Well, that's our choice. But Wolff's Law never sleeps. Wolff's Law says use it or lose it. If you don't use your muscles, they atrophy. They turn into guacamole. If you don't use your bones, they will turn into styrofoam. And that's indeed what happens. The osteoclasts keep nibbling away bone faster than the osteoblasts are laying down new bone. And these small little holes in between the bone structures here turn into big holes. The bone actually becomes porous, hence the name of the disease, osteoporosis. This is porous bone. Without consistent weight-bearing exercise, osteoclasts continue to dissolve old bone faster than the osteoblasts lay down new bone, and as a result, bone substance disappears. Osteoporosis, I hope you can start to see, is not primarily a calcium deficiency. That's not what the disease is. Osteoporosis is largely disuse atrophy of the bones. And sitting in your chair taking calcium tablets is not magically going to make your bones any stronger. You can sit down and eat a 16-ounce porterhouse steak. That's the muscle of a bull. Then look at your biceps. Are they getting bigger? Hey, I eat full muscles. Why are my muscles getting bigger? Hey, I'm eating calcium tablets. Why are my bones getting stronger? It doesn't work like that. These bones get stronger in response to one thing, that you're using them. So stop thinking that osteoporosis is a nutritional disease. It's not. There's a lady, a couple of talks earlier this week, was very distressed. She had low bone density test, and she started eating lots of greens and lots of kale, and then she got another bone density test, and her bone density was worse. And she felt ripped off. Hey, calcium, the greens, Why do bone density get worse? Because osteoporosis is not calcium deficiency. It's not what the disease is. Osteoporosis largely tissues atrophy of the bones from our sedentary lifestyle, and it's made worse if your diet is crappy and not supplying what you need to keep your bones healthy, and if you are doing things that's actually accelerating the dissolution of your bones, which is going to dissolving because we're not using them. That is the 21st century state and the 21st century disease. So let's call things out for what they are. The main cause of osteoporosis is we're sitting on our butts all day. Lack of weight during exercise. We sit, we sit, we sit, we sit. Second is lack of essential nutrients. When people think of bones and nutrients, bone calcium, bone calcium, bone calcium, that's ridiculous. Your bones are complex living tissue, and they require the same nutrient that all the other complex living tissues in your body require. Your brain, your muscles, your heart, your nerves, they all require lots of vitamins, and the bones require not only vitamin D, but vitamin K. We'll come back to vitamin K, but they require B6, vitamin C, folate, a whole panoply of minerals beyond calcium. They need boron, copper, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, zinc, and strontium plays a role as well. We'll talk about that. And you got to feed your bones, and you need protein and fatty acids, not lots of them. But bones need the same tissues the same nutrients every other tissue does. You need a whole food plant-based diet for all the things that these foods require or contain, as you know very well. These foods are not bone healthy. And one reason this is America, and this for America is developing osteoporosis, is what they're running through their bones. Not only do these foods, these devitalized, processed pieces of death have been depleted of many of these of the vitamins and minerals required, but they also have huge amounts of proteins and sugars that generate organic acids in the body. And acid loads, in order to neutralize the acid, often results in bones dissolving. And as the acid molecules wash the bone out, the bone will give up calcium and phosphorus to neutralize the acid, and meanwhile it's calcium and phosphorus out of your bones. So high acid generating diets are hard on the bones. They cause the bone to dissolve. So why are bones dissolving? Well, primarily we're not using them. Second, our diets, our fast food diets, are not only not nourishing our bones, they are putting acid load that's increasing the dissolution of the bone. And finally, there are specific substances that we take into our body. They increase the rate in which the bones dissolve, in which the calcium pours out of our urine. Too much salt is a real issue, and again, too many restaurant meals at the Chinese restaurant, or too many indisposed dinners, they're put salt loads, and if you've already got low bone density, not your friend. As I already mentioned, acid-forming foods, meats, dairy, refined grain, flour products, white sugar, sugary drinks, sugars of all types generate acids and are not friendly to your bones. Cola drinks sure taste refreshing. What gives them their bite on the tongue? It's phosphoric acid. And phosphoric acid is phosphoric acid, and it takes calcium out of your bones in order to neutralize it. People who drink lots of alcohol, more than a couple of drinks a day, will have lower bone density, and the nicotine in cigarettes is such a potent constrictor of blood vessels that it constricts blood vessels to the bone tissue itself. If you have lots of cortisone in your bloodstream, that's going to make your bones dissolve. And it mostly comes from our own adrenal glands, from all the stress we keep ourselves under. People are constantly under state of stress, and their adrenal glands are pumping out cortisol. All that cortisol is flowing to your bones, and not just to your bones, and it makes them dissolve. Mark Twain said, "I've known lots of worry in my life, most of which never happened." And if we do that with our stress levels, because meanwhile our bones pay the price. And then these long-term acid blockers. You need that acid to absorb calcium. And you stay on prostacyclin or one of these long-term blockers month after month after month. Great way to give yourself osteoporosis. We'll come back and circle back on that one. And people who are taking prednisone, they're taking thyroid hormone, if you're taking more than you need, that's going to increase the rate at which your bones dissolve as well. So here's the whole package. So you want to get thin, crumbly bones, sit in front of your computer all day, eat candy bars and soft drinks and salty junk foods, and worry about the stock exchange, and so much so you give yourself an acid stomach and take some acid blockers, and take some extra prednisone and thyroid hormone just in case, and rinse and repeat for a few years, and you'll wind up with thin, crumbly bones. So please, we're going to come back to this, and drive this home really hard, but I hope you see that if this is not about taking calcium pills, that this is a biological process that you can't reverse by doing one thing. You got to stop the degeneration of the bones. How do you tell if you have the disease? Well, your doctor can order some blood tests, and we'll check for calcium and your thyroid test, your thyroid function, and then your thyroid. What are these all about? Why? Well, the base of your neck, you got this gland called the thyroid gland, and it puts out some hormones, T3, which T4, which turns into T3, and it regulates how fast your cells burn energy. If this is putting out too much of these hormones, and you'll recognize that these two levels will be up, this level will be very low. This is like running your car at fast idle at the stoplight, and you're running your bone cells too fast, and you're going to start wearing out on you. And so hyperthyroidism is an issue that you need your doctor to screen for. And if you are taking thyroid, even if you've been on it for years, you want to get a fresh set of tests and work with your doctor, find the amount of thyroid hormone replacement you need to keep you feeling good, but more is not better when it comes to thyroid hormone. If you push it too much on the high side, then your bones wind up paying the price. So this is why you want them through a thyroid panel. And if you take the thyroid gland, this is facing front here, and you turn it around and you look on the back side of the thyroid gland, what you'll see is a picture like this, and on the back side of the thyroid, there's 4 islands of tissue studded into the back side of the thyroid, and these are your parathyroid glands, and these guys put out a hormone, parathyroid hormone, that draws calcium out of your bones. And that's a good thing to do. When your calcium level goes down, your parathyroid glands secrete a little bit of this parathormone, and that draws calcium out of your bones, like taking a withdrawal out of your savings account. And it keeps the blood calcium normal till there's more calcium in the blood, and then the calcium is put back in the bones. So you're constantly using your bone skeleton like a savings account for calcium. And the parathyroid glands and their hormone are the glands that let you make the withdrawal. They let you pull calcium out of the bones. And that's very nice. It works very well. You want to keep your blood calcium very even. But if you've got a parathyroid tumor, that's a big old lump here that's just pouring out parathyroid hormone, well, that's going to take a toll on your bones. And so that's why the doc will also order to see how much calcium in the blood is coming from your bones, and we're checking for parathyroid tumor as well. So that's what these 3 are about here. They should collect your urine, see how much calcium is actually going out through your kidneys. Since the bones are calcified protein, the calcium's coming out of the bones, but out of the urine. But so is the protein. As the bone protein breaks up, fragments of that bone protein, they're called amylopeptide, and those show up in the urine as well. So if you got a bunch of this stuff in your urine, you got a good chance that your bones are dissolving. And then if your adrenals are putting out too much cortisol, that'll show up in the urine, and that can also contribute. So these are the basic tests that you want to diagnose it. But the sine qua non of diagnosis is done on the DEXA scan table. This is an X-ray, dual electron X-ray absorptiometry. I say that once a year here. And it's basically an X-ray that determines how dense your bones are. The denser your bones, the less the X-rays penetrate, and so the whiter the image. That's all very nice. And similar to, as I spoke yesterday, how your LDL level, your statins can crush someone's life. Oh my God, my LDL is 2 points over normal. The same thing happens with these damn DEXA scans. And with women especially, their life depends on the value of their next DEXA scan. Just want to point out, this is measuring how dense your bones are, period. But bone density does not equal bone strength. They're not the same things. And if you add fluoride to the drinking water, or you put that woman on phosphonates or lendronate or one of these biphosphonate agents, her bones will look denser. They will. But if she falls, there's a good chance she's still going to break her hip. Bone density does not equal bone strength. And in some ways, this DEXA scan is like physiologic parlor trick. And you put them on these drugs and it makes their bone density look better on the scan. But is that bone really strong? I'm going to be talking about these drugs in a minute, the lendronate, phosphonate, etc. But my point is this. What do these drugs do? They poison the osteoclasts. They what? Yes, and I'm using that word because of the poison. They make the osteoclasts undergo apoptosis. They die. Not all of them. And still, even if you're on phosphonates, you still have living osteoclasts. I don't want to freak anybody out. But they have no illusion what these drugs do. They stun and eventually kill off the osteoclasts. Why in the world do you want to do that? Well, the rationale is, the osteoblasts are laying down new bone, the osteoclasts are breaking down old bone. What if we stop the osteoclasts and just let the osteoblasts lay down new bone, and the bone is really getting denser, yay! Aren't we clever? And that's the rationale behind these drugs. They poison the osteoclasts. And indeed, it gives the osteoblasts a head start, and the bones get, and their density goes up. But clever medical scientists, those osteoclasts are there for a reason. Their job is to dismantle this old cracked, crumbly bone from microfractures. You stop them from doing that, and you just have the osteoblast and laid new bone. It's like taking a rotten wall in an old building with crumbling timbers and just taking a new plaster and putting it over the front. Ooh, wall looks great, but it's still a rotten, crumbling wall. The timbers are still crumbling behind that nice new appearance. And that's the problem with this bone. Those microfractures are still in this bone. This is Frankenbone. This is not normal, healthy bone. This is bone whose osteoclasts have been prevented from dismantling old microfractures, and the osteoblasts are just laying down new bone until willy-willy. And this is what you're seeing on the scan. Oh, your bone, your DEXA scan better. That's nice, but are my bones stronger? We can't tell you that. And from what we're seeing, they're not very impressive as far as the findings go. More importantly is your fracture risk. Let's talk about that. You do bone density studies on resilient women, and most of them are going to fall within 2 standard deviations of normal density. 15% of them are going to fall in this area, which just is statistical, because without 1 standard deviation, you are in this mathematically designated region. It has nothing to do with biology. We're going to say everybody with more than 1 standard deviation has osteopenia, and more than 2 standard deviations, you've got osteoporosis. Osteopenia is not a disease. Thinning in bone is normal for women as they age. The vast majority of women with osteopenia will never fracture a bone. And fracture is the bottom line. If you make it to 120 and get hit by a bus, because you didn't look both ways, and you have low bone density, who cares? You know. As long as you don't break anything, bone density really doesn't have any impact in your life. And osteopenia was never meant to suggest, oh, we got to treat you, you've got osteopenia. No. Bone density normally goes down and it plateaus, but it depends what the woman does with her bones. But this is no reason, just because you're in this category, or even this category, where you got to start taking these toxic drugs and poison your osteoclasts. More than bone density is involved, whether a woman actually fractures a hip when she falls, depends on how muscular she is, how heavy she is, what the height was that she fell from. Less than half the people who fracture a bone every year have osteoporosis. Most women who fracture bones have normal bone density. This is no guarantee that you're going to wind up a crippled old person just because you have slightly low bone density. You can predict who's going to get fractures. Certainly as you get older, the rate goes up, and that's to be expected. But most importantly are these petite little hummingbird old women in the nursing home who weigh 82 pounds. Their muscle mass has gone, and therefore their bones are atrophied. And she sits all day in the nursing home in front of the TV, and every evening she's got less bone than when she sat down in that sofa first thing in the morning. And her muscles have the strength of guacamole, and she can't get out of the chair out of the system. And every day she only has more and more bone. Does she need DEXA scan? No, she doesn't. You know that just by looking at this. Even if you found your check of urine, you find all sorts of stuff and calcium stuff in urine. But we know that. Things that make it worse, and I'm not vitamin K, that's going to make it worse. Well, she probably is low in both of these. She doesn't eat greens. She sits inside all day. She may be on prednisone for her connective tissue disease. I don't know if her doc has checked her thyroid panel in the last 10 years, but she's at risk there. And the best determinant about whether someone in the nursing home is going to be alive 1 year from time X is this. If they can do this one maneuver, if they can get out of the chair unassisted, they'll be around in a year. If your muscles have atrophied so badly, your heart is failing, whatever the issue is, that you can't get out of this chair, that's a real red flag, alarm, siren, evacuate the building sign. You want to do whatever you can do. Whether it's watching TV, she needs to start strengthening those quads. She can do isometric exercises while she's sitting there, but she needs to move because the Grim Reaper with the sickle is right behind her if she can't get out of the chair. So you want to strengthen your bones? Daily weight-bearing movement, preferably out in the sunshine. Eating muscle will not build biceps, taking calcium pills will not build bone, you gotta use them. What does that mean in the real world? Never miss a chance to walk upstairs. Got plenty of chances here. Never miss a chance to carry packages. Never miss a chance to take the long way home. Go park at the farm in the parking lot. You've heard all this before. But every step you take carrying those packages sends that gravitational wow down your spine, down your hips, down your leg, and your bones get stronger. This is survival in the 21st century. It really does make a difference. Your bones are millions of years old. They're still asking of you what our Paleolithic ancestors' bones asked of them. Use them. Get off your butt and use them. And so you need the 21st century equivalent of that. Reclaim your physicality, your physical beings. Reclaim that, and everything you carry helps you do that. Just as exercise improves muscle strength, which it will, it also strengthens your bones. So choose weight-bearing exercises, walking, jogging, hiking, gardening, don't get into anything that gets you moving up and down will help. It also improves your balance, which decreases the risk of falling. Now, especially if you've got low bone density, if you're that lady, you say, I'm eating greens and my bones are getting worse. What's going on? Woman's got work to do. Gotta use it. Get yourself active. Just grabbing a couple of 3-pound hand weights and going for a walk. If you are walking and there's a 1-foot excursion on your hand as you're walking from here down to here, and this is a 3-pound weight, well, there's 1,000 steps in a mile. You walk a mile with 3-pound weight in your hand, moving 1 foot with every step. By the end of 1 mile, you lift 1 pound 3,000 feet in the air. Or you lifted 3 pounds 1,000 feet in the air, however you want to look at it. The repetitive usage is what wakes up your bones and start using them. But go to the gym, start you doing whatever these women are doing. Every one of them is making their bones stronger as well as their muscles as well. Is really a real difference. But the most effective thing, you really want to get your bones stronger, get on Amazon and type in 2 magic words, weighted vest. Or 4 magic words if you want to make a fashion statement, weighted vest for women. And you will find, for $50, you get yourself a weighted vest, and it's got pockets in it. And it comes in a little box with lead weights. And the pockets are empty. What do you do with this? You put on the vest empty, put on a t-shirt, you go for a walk. Just get used to the feeling of it. Take a couple of walks with an empty vest. And then pop in 2 pounds of weight, put on your t-shirt, nobody knows you're wearing it, and just go for a walk. And build up to probably a 30 to 40 minute walk with 2 pounds. And you really want a Cadillac workout, you put in your 2 pounds in your vest and grab your 3 pound hand weights and go for a walk. And every step you take, I guarantee you, that vest is making your spine stronger, your hand weights are making your upper body stronger, they're all making your legs stronger, that includes the muscles and the bones. And build up slowly until you can go minimum 3 to probably 40 minutes. And after 5 or 6 or 8 walks with 2 pounds, pop another 2 pounds, not 4 pounds. Okay? And do that every day. Do a 30-minute walk with 4 pounds surrounding your vest and 3 pounds in your hands there. You do that every day for 30 minutes. I guarantee your DEXA scan is going to start going up. And then after you've done that walk with 4 pounds for 6, 8, 10 times, pump another 2 pounds. And slowly build up to 10 pounds, 12 pounds. That's all you need. You don't need 30 pounds. And please build up slowly. There's no hurry here. You're taking years to get in this condition. Because if you put 20 pounds in that weight belt and put it on, you'll never put that vest on again. So this is easy does it. The tortoise won the race. Remember the tortoise here? The tortoise won the race. Slow and steady will get you there. So you want to reverse osteoporosis. Yes, these are green. We'll talk about that in a second. But bones are alive, man, and they're using them. They're atrophying. If you've got low bone density, your bones are atrophying. Get up off your butt and do something about it. And this is the most effective way to do it. It is especially true for petite Caucasian or Asian women. You guys are so light. The 89 pounds of the 101 pound hummingbird vegan woman is so light. And it's wonderful. She's got low blood pressure, low cancer risk, and all those wonderful things. But there's so little of her. She has, just the act of walking, has so little of her bones that Wood's Law doesn't have a lot of traction in her body. And white women and Asian women are just born with smaller skeletons. They have less calcium to begin with, and plus they don't have the weight mass to generate a lot of extra stresses that make those bones stronger. So it's really important for the petite women to get into this. And again, 5 pounds, 8 pounds, don't need much. This should not be an ordeal. But if you get thrown a lightweight vest, grab a couple of hand weights, and don't take 20-minute walk. Just put the man into the vacuuming, go to the post office, just wear the bloody thing for half an hour. Just get in and out of the car. Because to having it on you will make your skeleton stronger. But this is not an American sitting taking calcium pills and hoping your DEXA scan increases. Anything that stresses the bones will do it. These elastic bands certainly will, and highly recommended. They travel very well. But something that's really elegant and hopeful and makes my yoga teacher wife very happy is Dr. Lauren Fishman's book, Yoga for Osteoporosis. It turns out there are 12 yoga positions that when you hold them, they stress the bones enough to start all the way down to osteoblasts. And so taking a walk with a weight vest and go back and do some of Dr. Fishman's yoga poses, and that bone density is going to go up, and not because you're taking osteoblasts. No question. The study showed that you can get bones stronger by using them. Okay, so daily weight-bearing exercise, and you need a healthy plant-based diet. There's no question that folks who eat our kind of food here have healthy, stronger bones. This is the best food for a whole food plant-based diet, especially these dark green leafy. Boy, talk about food as medicine. What do you really, you need a lot of nutrients, as I mentioned, and you especially need calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K. Those are three really important nutrients for healthy bones. Well, guess what? They're all in abundance in dark green leafy vegetables. And if you're trying to get healthy bones, don't go to bed at night so you can look back over your eating day. Oh, yeah, I had a big honker helping of kale at lunch. Oh, I had a half a pound of broccoli at dinner. You want 2 or 3 big helpings of greens every day because they do such wonderful things to your bones. But so do the beans, and all of these things do, as I'll show you in a minute. It turns out that spinach, lettuce, carrots, beans, and whole grains have the element strontium, it's a metal, that increase the action of your osteoblasts. A little bit, just a touch. And I'm telling you, they have 2 pounds of spinach every night who've got low bone density. You just note that the whole foods have a positive effect on bone health. These foods will increase strontium's ability to stimulate the osteoblast. Well, green beans and those white beans that I mentioned, cannellini beans, blue cheese, potato salad, they stimulate, they suppress the osteoblast a little bit. They say, cool down, boys. And they too give, they act like kind of a natural phosphonates. Yeah, this is just, a subtle effect. But it's just, again, showing you how a whole food plant-based diet makes everything better, including your skeletal structures. And finally, stop doing things that make bones dissolve. I'm a recovering saltaholic. It's not a good thing. So there's other, and if you get my talk on salt, sugar, and oil, you can entertain your tongue with non-salty flavorings, lemon juice, and breads, and all sorts of salt substitutes. Stop the meat, stop the dairy, stop the flour products, stop the sugary crap, stop the cola drinks. If you want a cold, fizzy, sweet drink, take a nice tall glass, put a couple of fingers of cranberry juice on the bottom there, and fill it up with cold fizzy water and a couple of ice cubes. Make your own soft drinks, and you won't have all the high fructose corn syrup and all that. Stop smoking cigarettes for every reason that you know that I don't have to tell you. And again, you might be making your own problem worse, and check in on your stress level. And I'd like to give you some philosophies on how to handle stress if we have time in the Q&A here. And then we got to talk about Larry, the cable guy. Bastion of intelligence and goodwill, and wants only the best for you. And he's trying to help your stomach feel better. But Larry never tells you, he tells you, take the purple pill and you eat anything at the barbecue. Yeah. Larry never tells you when to stop taking the purple pill. This stuff works. This stuff turns off your stomach acid. And if you've got a raw stomach lining from too much alcohol, chili dogs, and aspirins and ibuprofen, and you burn a hole in your stomach there, yeah, turning your stomach acid off for a couple of weeks, good idea. And these drugs have a use in acute care medicine. We'll use them for a few weeks. But while that ulcer is healing. But to take these things, and I've got patients every morning, hey doc, I take my multivitamin, my S blocker every morning. My heart sinks when I hear that. That acid is there for a reason. You need that acid to absorb calcium. You need it to absorb iron. You need it to digest protein. You need it to absorb vitamin B12. And you shut the acid off month after month after month. It's a great way to keep yourself. Iron deficiency anemia, protein malabsorption, dysbiosis and down in your lower gut, vitamin B12 deficiency, and osteoporosis because you can't absorb the friggin' calcium. And so I urge you, do not see these things as benign. Your whole body's going to pay the price, but your bones certainly will. So how do you get off of it? This is in my video, Digestion Made Easy. But first of all, water does not run uphill, neither does stomach acid. And so put a 4 to 6 inch block of wood under the head, legs of the bed, elevate the head and legs of the bed, let gravity keep the acid in your stomach all night, and that'll keep it from rolling up in your lower esophagus, causing those acid burns, and that'll start breaking the vicious cycle. Once this gets inflamed, it allows more acid to come up, and around it goes. 6 inches is as high as you want to raise this. Any more than 6 inches, and husband starts sliding out the refrigerator. You got to raise the head of your bed. Oh, I sleep on extra pillows. It never works. By 3 in the morning, everybody's focused flat. You got to physically raise the head of the bed. 4 to 6 inches. There are commercial blocks to do that. Elevated blood. Never use these acid blockers for more than 6 weeks. Then, if you're still having problems with acid reflux, stop these 24-hour PPIs that omeprazole is part of. Go to the drugstore and off the counter, get one of these H2 blockers, like famotidine or ranitidine. They only last 12 hours. They only last overnight. So take one right after dinner. Turn off your nighttime stomach acid so it doesn't roll up in your lower esophagus and burn the tissues there. But by the morning hours, your acid's coming back, and by the time you're upright and digesting food again, you got your acid back. So start heating this thing by just turning off your nighttime stomach acid. Let the acid come back during the daytime. There's other things that you can take to combat the stomach lining here. And despite all this, if it still hurts, have your doctor check your stool for bacteria called Helicobacter. And if any food makes your reflux worse, don't eat it. Simple. And it eventually heals. I've been on acid blockers for 22 years. My God. But time to come off it. It's not doing you any good. There's the ticket for doing that. As I said, this one's for sale out of the front desk. It goes into jail. Okay, and talk to your doctor. If you're on either steroids or thyroid hormone, get a fresh set of tests. Doc, what's the lowest dose of these I need to achieve the effect, but no more. You need some vitamin D. Get your vitamin D level checked. 25 grams of vitamin D. It should be at least over 30 nanograms per ml. If it's well below this, then get some vitamin D. I like the liquids. 2,000 per day. There's usually 1,000 per drop, so 2 drops on your tongue most days will certainly get you in a good category that it's safe. Then vitamin K2 stuff. Vitamin K2 makes sure that the calcium that you absorb from your food goes into your bones, not your artery walls. And that's really important. Calcium is a dumb mineral. People think that, wow, it's a calcium. Here, my bones are white, they have calcium. Chalk is white, it has calcium. This tablet's white, it's got calcium. Gee, so the white calcium must go into my white bones. And they think it magically finds its way there and all is well. Don't work like that, folks. Calcium is a dumb mineral. You take a calcium tablet, you flood your tissues with calcium, and it starts depositing out into tissues you don't want to calcify, like your artery walls, like your tendons, like your bursa, like your ligaments, your calcitic tendonitis, calcitic bursa. It's a dumb mineral. You want to take it only moderate amounts. I'll tell you how much in a minute. But far better, get your calcium out of dark green leafy vegetables. This is much safer. They will also have some vitamin K2 in with them to make sure that calcium goes into your bones, not your artery walls. Check your vitamin label. If you're around 10 to 25 micrograms of K2 is all you need. But basically, a big helping of this every day is your best source of K2, because the microbes in your colon will turn the K1 here into K2. So osteoporosis can be reversed. No matter what your age, your osteoblasts are still in your bones. Even if you got this diagnosis, your osteoblasts are still in there. They're just waiting for you to ask them to do something, to make them stronger, start using them again. They're sitting there. If you listen quietly, you can hear them tapping their little foot. They're whistling, they're kind of shuffling in the seats. And hey, you used to love us, man. You used to use us. And how about taking us out for a walk? And that's what your osteoblast want. And that you listen to their call. So you know how to create your bone tissue now. So you go to your doctor and you get this diagnosis with the skull. Your bone density, your DEXA scan, low score. You need phosphonates, zometa, reclass, actinol, media, okay, all of these. Oh, and you need to drink milk and take your calcium pills. This is going to be the standard advice you're going to get from your doctor. Let's talk about calcium pills. hip fracture rates are the highest in countries where high calcium is consumed and high dairy product consumption. And the countries that consume little or no milk, dairy or calcium supplement, have fracture rates 57% lower than in America. What's with that? Well, this is developed nations, of course, so if you can afford dairy industry and refrigeration, by definition, you're a developed nation. The developing nations, these folks are not sitting in their living room drinking milkshakes, they're out in the field growing their food and building their houses and looking after their kids, etc. They're doing physical work. And that's probably why they have less in the way of fracture rates. Do milk or other dairy products promote bone health? The Dairy Association wants you to think so, but the Harvard Nurses study clearly showed that when women drank lots of milk, it did not protect them from breaking their ribs. And in fact, high milk intake associated with higher mortality. The milk has estrogens and growth promoters that promote breast cancer, that promote ovarian cancer, that promote atherosclerosis, and the folks who consume more dairy products are actually at higher risk of dying and having a higher risk of bone fracture. It's certainly no salvation in consuming dairy products. And if you want a really potent presentation on the whole dairy thing, go to my website, www.com, look at the webinars. And I've got one called Dairy Doubts, and we go into the truth of dairying and all the hormones in the milk and the precocious puberty and the acne and the man boots and all the things that come from this. So those of you attached to your milk and cheese because you're concerned about your bones, we talk about the osteoporosis in here as well. Osteoporosis is not a cow's milk deficiency any more than it's a giraffe. This is not really about nutrition. But calcium pills, I hope you see now, these living dynamic organs called our bones that are constantly creating bone, etc. Just taking a double calcium tablet and expect magically your bones are going to get stronger. You're missing the reality of the biology involved here. Poor results from, so when people take calcium tablets, surprise, surprise, they don't get stronger bones. No surprise, there's no reduction in hip fracture risk with calcium supplements. And the increased risk is possible. No surprise, osteoporosis is a disease of calcium deficiency. Taking calcium is not going to magically make your bones stronger. And in fact, it may increase your risk of dying from heart attack. Why? Because, as every first-year med student learns, blood clotting is a calcium-dependent reaction. And you flood your body, you take a calcium pill, and you flood 1,000 milligrams of calcium into your bloodstream. Suddenly, all your blood clotting factors say, oh boy, lots of calcium around here. And blood clotting goes up after you take the calcium tablet. And if you've got a raggedy plaque in your coronaries, the chain of events, Dr. Kahn showed us very graphically, is a great way to block the blood flow to your heart. And so these are not benign, taking these calcium pills. They're only good for my bones. You can't do one thing in the body. Everything sets off a cascade of events. And these calcium tablets set off blood clots. And that's not to be neglected. So how much calcium do you need? In America, we do everything bigger. We're told 1,000 milligrams, 1,500 milligrams. Nobody else in the world wants people consuming that much calcium. In the UK, the doctors studied the average person that had no increased fracture risk, 525 milligrams a day. World Health Organization, 400 to 500 a day. You can get that out of dreams easily. In the UK, the official government recommendation, 700 milligrams, not 1,500, like we Americans think is a good idea. Get it from food. Because the calcium in vegetables is easier to absorb than that in milk. In milk, only less than a third of calcium in the milk is actually absorbed. But in Brussels sprouts and broccoli, well over half is absorbed. So eat your greens, eat lots of them, chew them up well, but you'll absorb more calcium. And if you want a calcium tablet, you don't need anything exotic. Every antacid tablet from Walgreens is 500 milligrams. And have it if you want to. Make sure you're up over that 500 milligrams. Have a plate or two of greens every day, and maybe add a half of one of these tablets. That's enough, more than enough. but don't be taking handfuls of calcium tablets and think that's magically going to help your bones. It's not. It's going to hurt you. And so dairy calcium supplements do not offer salvation from osteoporosis, and these bi-phosphonates poison osteoclasts. That's what they do. After drugs, if you don't believe me, do an action of electromagnetic. You will see it makes your osteoblasts die, your osteoclasts die. These drugs do not make the bones stronger. In fact, maybe make them weaker. They do not reverse osteoporosis. The only thing that reverses osteoporosis is using their bones, make them stronger. Poisoning your osteoclast does not stop this disease. They can have serious side effects. Every dentist will tell you that if they're doing an extraction on the lower molar, they crack your mandible, and you're not taking these pills that interfere with bone healing, because they do. The dentist finds that your bone, your fractured mandible doesn't heal. The whole thing starts crumbling and rotting, and people have these horrible bone surgeries. And most women, it's similar to statins. You're taking a pill for something that you assume will never happen, a heart attack. Well, same thing. We're going to take these pills the rest of your life. The vast majority of women, even with osteoporosis, will never fracture a bone. And they're asked you to take these expensive tablets that have side effects for a disease you're never really going to have. Do they have any use? Yeah, there are people, if some little old nursing home lady weighs 80 pounds and she's broken 3 bones already and she's only got another year or 2 to live, yeah, she probably would benefit. Someone who's got their bone cells riddled with metastatic prostate cancer or whatever, he probably could benefit. There are general uses, specific uses I should say. But generally, every woman with osteopenia should be on these agents, and not in my book they should. I would hope not in yours. The benefits certainly can outweigh the risks. As I said, the older lady with lots of fractures, the folks with metastatic cancer, but definitely not the diagnosis of osteopenia. Again, a whole food plant-based diet and start using those bones and get your bones stronger the proper way. Bioidentical progesterone and estrogen can make your bones stronger, and I prescribe them, but not to help the bones. I prescribe them for GYN issues, vaginal dryness, hot flashes, etc. But it'll also help bones get stronger. All these hormones increase the risk of blood clots and breast cancer just a smidge. So it's not cool to prescribe these hormones specifically for osteopenia, say. But you can tell a woman if you're putting her on these hormones for other reasons, her bones will benefit a little bit. Always use the bioidentical hormones, not the horse hormones. And if you're interested, contact Women's International Pharmacy and get a physician referral to a doc who prescribes these bioidentical hormones for you. The standard teaching lives on. This is whether we need drink milk, keep the bones strong, everybody's best risk healthy. There's just nonsense. It's still skewing out, which is why I got to go talk to the medical students and the doctors designing these curriculum that they cannot have this put in their head. This is not accurate. This is dangerous advice, and we're going to change that. So, summary: osteoporosis is not a disease calcium deficiency. I hope everybody gets this. It's not a matter of taking phosphate, not a matter of taking calcium pills, or just eating more kale. It's not a cow's milk deficiency. It's not cured with dairy or calcium or bi-phosphonate drugs. Will's law of bones says the more you use them, the stronger they get. And so osteoporosis was a disease actually the bones make worse by nutrient deficiency and bone weakness. Everybody clear on that. Okay? So you don't ask more of your doctor than she can understand or provide. To reverse osteoporosis, use your bones, climb stairs, carry bags, weight 8 to 12 20-pound weighted vests for 20 to 40 minutes a day with some hand weights. Gradually, take 3 months, take 6 months to get up. It doesn't matter. Just slowly keep doing it. Go through plant-based diet, stop the use of alcohol and cigarettes and sugar and all that stuff. Keep your vitamin D level up, keep your K level up. So omega-3 fats, a handful of walnuts is a good idea every day as well. I like the Better Bones blog, Susan Brown, PhD, but she's had osteoporosis. She's got some pretty decent advice usually, and so I will recommend that you check out her website as well. And finally, the final bottom line with fractures is falling, and the osteoporosis is fractures. don't fall, don't break anything, and none of this makes much difference at all, the truth of it is. So, fall-proof your home, especially if you've got a fellow elderly person with the electric cords that they can slip on, rugs, etc. Hip pads. For $30 off Amazon, you can get some hip pads that if they do fall, there's a good chance they won't actually fracture their hip. The energy will be dispersed. So if you've got an elderly frail person at home, consider some hip pads. And send them, get them out to Tai Chi class, to get your balance much better so you don't tend to fall. Key to osteoporosis, preventing it and reversing it is to nourish your bones with good nutrition, using them with toxins, and using them daily to make them strong, to keep your bones well. Use them every day with a smile, and they will last a long, strong lifetime. Okay, so if you buy the recording you just made, you'll get all this information, but if you missed it or whatever, or you want your friends to have to go to my website, the same webinar is on my webinar section entitled Healthy Bones. And so I want to take the mystery out of osteoporosis, which I hope we did, and I want to take the victimhood out of osteoporosis, especially the women. They get really intimidated, and they get their bone density test, and they have all these images bent up people that on the cane and the walker. They get osteopenia, lay down, and give me my consequence, I don't want that. You now know more than your doctor does about this disease and how to reverse it. And if you get that diagnosis, low bone density, say, thank you, I know just what to do about it. And up your diet, up your exercise, up your laughter, very important. And your bones get stronger, and your life will get better. Thank you very much. That's it. Thank you for all of your good attention this week. It's just a wonderful being here. I've got one more appearance on the panel tomorrow. But I want to thank everybody for all the comments that you've come up with me to take my direction. I really like that. Thank you
Dr. Klaper has a beautiful question.
I will repeat the question.
Oh boy, I'm that woman, 100 pounds, 55. I have osteopenia. And the last time I went to the doctor, they said my skin is very close to the borderline where I need medication. So I do all of these things already, except for alcohol. But so here's the question. I had my first broken bone, but I maintain it wasn't from osteopenia. So I fell, I was knocked out by some very fast traveling dogs, right? And my entire body was caught on one wrist. That's reasonable. You're going to break things if you fall like that, whether you're osteopenia or osteoporotic or whatever the word is. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And so I just want to say I'm excited because what I've learned is that it's not a calcium deficiency.
It's not.
And I know what to do to reverse it, and I'm going to do it. Yay, me!
Yay, you! All right.
Will a backpack with weights in it work as well as this weight vest that you talked about?
Yes, backpack would work as well. Yes, it will. These hip work less well, and the ankle weights don't work at all. They'll help your legs a little bit. They're not going to do much for yourself. So yes, backpack will try. Certainly work. But if you're someone who's had wedge fractures already, if you've got severe osteoporosis, you should still do this, but you should have a much gentler grade of ascent here as far as the weight goes. Just put on the empty vest and start walking. And then 2 pounds, and that's all for a couple of months, and then 4 months. Build up really, really gradually if you already have pressure fractures.
Hi, a little bit of an extension of what the first woman said. I am 53 years old. I'm a little bit on the petite side. I have osteoporosis after having breast cancer 12 years ago and with chemo. They want to put me on medication. I have refused so far. I'm started eating plant-based a year and a half ago, and I'm thrilled about that and the promise of that. Is there any reason for me to even think of medication, vitamin D, calcium, all of that stuff?
Good for you for asking this question, being this point. I'm glad you got past that 12 years ago. Is there any reason for you to think about saying? Absolutely, there is. Get your D level measured, and if it's below 30, goose it up with whatever you need to do that. Double your, whatever greens you're eating, double it for the K and the calcium and all that stuff. And start your walking program and get a DEXA scan a year from now. Give yourself a good 6, 12 months to get things up, moving your direction. There's no hurry here. But yes, check them out, but I wouldn't take the drugs at this point. No reason. Do that.
Okay, I have osteoporosis already, and I do weight-bearing exercise, and I use vest. But it seems to aggravate varicose veins.
Varicose veins?
Yeah.
Oh, that's something else. And you've had kids. And yeah, sure. So the varicose veins happen during pregnancy. And if your veins are dilated varicose, you should get them closed. And there's an easy procedure now to get that done. But don't
and
let.
Then they can do
Oh yeah, they slide the catheter up the vein, and as the doctor's pulling it out, every time he sees the dilated area, he steps on the pedal, and a little current comes out and seals the vein. And it's called a closure procedure. And don't let your varicose vein prevent you from putting on that vest and walking. And that's far more important. Get your veins fixed.
Hello, thank you for taking my question. I heard that liquid magnesia is bad for your bone density. If so, what would you recommend as a replacement?
As a laxative. If you're taking liquid magnesia as a laxative, she's saying it's bad for bone density. I don't know why. In fact, magnesium is usually pretty good for your bones. But enough magnesium is magnesium sulfate, magnesium oxide. But I don't see there's any reason. I'd like to see the study that shows that. It doesn't make medical sense. But at True North, when people need a laxative, boy, we soak up 4 or 6 prunes during the day and we give it to them after dinner, and boy, the next morning they get a really good reaction from that. So, try that. Thanks very much. Okay, it's great.
Hi, doctor. I'm 72 years old, and I've had parathyroid disease for a lot of years. I have terrible, terrible brittle bones. I broke a wrist. I have 700 milligrams of calcium coming out of my urine. And I don't know who to turn to. My doctor prescribed diuretics for help my kidneys. I don't know why.
Yeah, this is a complex issue here.
I know.
Why don't you go to my website and make a reservation for a consultation with me. We should talk about this by Skype.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, good.
I've read that calcium in your bones is used as a buffer, and I was wondering if you're eating acidic food, does that tend to leach calcium from your bones?
Absolutely. That's exactly the mechanism that I described. Our body, we are alkaline-loving creatures. All our chemical reactions happen in an alkaline medium in our cells. But we are an acid-producing body. We are burning sugar and producing acids. We are eating protein producing acids. So we have to neutralize a lot of acid every day. And a diet based on meat, dairy, and flour products, and such, you have an extra load of acid, and that draws down on our buffering capacity.
But I've read that eating or drinking vinegar is supposed to be healthy. Would that be bad for your bones?
Apple cider vinegar's got a ancient lore attached to it, and we're talking about a teaspoon of this stuff in the morning. I don't think that's going to cause anybody any problem. The amount of it's so small. Compared to bacon, eggs for breakfast, and a cheeseburger for lunch, and chicken for dinner, and presumably Coke. That's a huge acid load. That's the problem. It's not a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar.
Cartilage replacement, is that another issue?
Cartilage replacement is another issue. I would see if injections of stem cells might help those regenerate before you actually do any surgery. But it's a new frontier. How exciting are they even talking about cartilage replacement? So keep your eye on it. But the best thing to do is get yourself light and trim so you don't ask your joints to bear more weight than they can handle. Okay? Okay.
I guess I have a two-part question with two things I'm taking, and if I can get rid of everything and just, it would be great. I've been plant-based for at least 6 months, lost 35 pounds, but onward. Hit the ball out of the park, yeah. Okay, so one is levothyroxine. I take that for thyroid. Anything you need to add? Because I think you mentioned something with thyroid medicines could cause an issue with osteo. So can you address that, and then I'll give you the next one after.
It depends how much thyroid function your own thyroid still has, if it produces any thyroxine at all. If it does, you can ask your doctor to start a taper down program, slowly, after 6 months, 12 months, slowly shave it down. And you might find that whatever you have now, in that new body that's lighter, requires less thyroxine for your own thyroid, and you might be able to get away on your own production of it. So it's worth a taper down program. But if it's not successful and your TSH shoots up, then at least work with your doctor to find the lowest dose of thyroxine to keep everything in line.
Okay, so if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, should I just throw out the glucosamine and driving?
Yes.
Just forget it. I don't need it anymore. I'm done.
Don't need that at all.
Sounds good. Great. Thank you.
Okay. You got it.
Thank you very much for being here. You're like a wonderful lecturer.
Okay.
I have esophageal Barrett's, and I do take the pills I'm supposed to take. Do you think that this food, after a while, I'll be able to come off of the medication? Because I take it twice a day, and I have to take it because it's really bad if I don't.
Yes, right, absolutely. So she has an issue called Barrett's esophagus, and this basically is from an incontinent valve that has let acid drizzle up to the lower esophagus year after year after year. And now when they put a scope down and have a look, the lower part of the esophagus is red and angry, and if they do biopsies, they see precancerous cells in there, and everybody's worried that it's going to turn into esophageal cancer. But this is from chronic acid gurgling up into a lower esophagus, and she needs to stop that. So here's someone who needs to follow my recommendations to the letter, elevate the head of the bed, take an H2 blocker in the evening, and stay on this diet strictly, get down to the 130 pounds you really should be weighing. And I'm not trying to embarrass you. The reason why is that when you've got a lot of belly fat and you sit down and flex your hips, the abdominal belly fat pushes up on the underside of the stomach and distorts the valve and allows the acid to reflux. So you work on getting yourself a lean trim and standard plant-based diet that makes you generate less acid to begin with. Take those H2 blockers at night. Don't see the doctor for a year. Don't have more scopes. You just do this and come. I know they're humming on you and it doesn't matter. This food is not going to make your Barrett's worse. So get you leaner and healthier. You do that. Go back in a year and get checked out. They'll say, "Oh, this is your work." But it won't be the You're welcome.
Hello, I have osteopenia, and 3 years ago I had breast cancer, and they put me on tamoxifen. Will tamoxifen interfere with the bone?
Yes, it certainly might. It interferes with estrogen metabolism, and it might.
What do you do?
Right, yes. You should contact Women's International Fund. So you need to work with a doc familiar with bioidentical hormones. And you can use progesterone only, which does not symptom solely the risk of breast cancer. You should increase your amount of soy products in your diet as well.
So my doctor told me to stay away from soy products.
Of course you did, right, exactly. But those are the two things. Find a doctor who feels comfortable prescribing progesterone and an increased amount of tempeh and edamame in your diet. And don't watch them short flank.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I kind of apologize for asking you this because you really answered it. But I'm -4 on the DEXA scale for osteoporosis. I ride horses, so the first two injuries, the broken wrist and the broken leg, were, I figured, horse-related. And then 4 months ago, I tripped in my house and flew up and landed directly on my hip and broke that. And I'm very small boned. And anyway, I can't get my doctor's face out of my mind when because for years I wouldn't take calcium and I won't do Fosamax. And he's just looking at me saying, you have to do that. Yeah. And I said, I'll come back in a year and I'll take it. And the year is I'll see him in about 2 or 3 weeks and he's going to be saying, you need to take it.
Tell me and go out of town. It does seem for another year.
And he told me there's no way that you can build bone.
have to come to my lecture.
Just look at me and say, Jennifer, you can build bone if you exercise and do what I told you.
It's said, on behalf of doctors, I apologize to you for our ignorance and our arrogance and our stupidity for uttering such nonsense.
Thank you.
This doctor, if he went to medical school, studied Wolff's Law. I said, Doctor, what are you telling me? That you can't make bone strong? Did you sleep through that lecture? Please recite Wolff's Law for me, and then tell me why I can't make these bones strong. But that's what you would say, that's what I would say to him in the office. It's ridiculous, but this is how sclerotic medicine has become. It's like Dr. Ron Weiss said, our agriculture's been taken over by Monsanto and DuPont and all the agricultural students learn this about pesticides and herbicides, etc. And medicine's been taken over by the drug companies, and all you're learning about what drug and what procedure, what's done, and that's got to stop. And you're going to be victim of that, but we're going to turn that around without question.
Hi, I'm 65 and I have severe osteoporosis. I do weight-bearing exercise 6-7 days a week. I'm on Prolia, and I'm due for my next shot. Do you think I should keep taking it?
It depends on your weight-bearing exercise. As far as what you really do, I don't want to get individual with you, but I would like to tune in by Skype and watch you. We're talking about a half an hour of something that gets those legs continually lifting some type of weight here. Just 5 minutes with your trainer doing one of this is not enough. And now, I do weight bearing, but it's really only 5 minutes at the gym in the middle of the interval training. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a good 40-minute walk with 3-pound hand weights and a 5-pound weight vest. You do that for 6 months, and it's going to go up. And at that point, you can say, oh, the protein is working great. And then say, well, we start spacing out the shots there, and I would increase the rate, or just stop.
Just stop doing.
I would, but it depends what you're really going to do, and how close you're going to come to what I just laid out there. If you can do that, then yeah, I would stop that stuff.
Thank you.
Okay. Don't mention my name.
What are your thoughts on alkaline water?
Alkaline water is by and large not worth the time, thought, or certainly money. And Dr. Greger has a wonderful piece on his website on alkaline water that communities where the water is naturally alkaline, bicarbonate in the rocks, have a slightly lower risk of heart disease. Now, all these communities are eating cheeseburgers and pizzas, and so they could all improve during a diet alone. But it seems that a little bit of alkalinity in the water is a nice thing. But do you need a $6,000 alkaline water machine to do this? Dr. Burns, no, you need literally a pinch of soda bicarb in a gallon of water, and again, alkaline water. And that's all you really need to do. And so, by and large, we just drink distilled water. But if you want to do a little alkaline water, put a little bicarbonate, but I wouldn't spend money on an expensive alkaline water machine.
Hi, I'm 75 years old and I was recently diagnosed with osteoporosis. My doctor suggested I go on medication, and since I'm right on the line, I suggested back to her that I do 2 hours of weight-bearing exercises a day, plus I went to my local health food store and they suggested I take a supplement called Bone Strength. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know that particular brand, but they usually have some vitamins and sponge, etc. And they can be helpful, but again, it's not a matter of just taking pills and inspect your bones against them. You got to do those 2 hours. That's really where the magic happens. Could those be helpful with their sponge and their vitamin K2? If they've got these on the label, yeah, but again, I go through like 1 bottle's worth, maybe 2. That should be enough at that point. But you're right. You do exercise. Find out.
Okay. I just wanted to know about the varicose veins. You recommended to the other woman to have them.
Yes.
But why? I also have.
Right. With the varicose veins, the little valves in the veins that keep the blood moving up to the heart, the vein gets distended because of obstruction, either from the baby sitting out for 9 months or obesity, whatever. And rule valves don't read anymore, and the column of blood falls down to the base of the vein, which gets wider and wider until finally the nerve goes. What can happen with that? Two things. One, it can be uncomfortable. By the end of the day, your veins are distended. You've got a pint and a half of blood in each leg, if both legs, veins, are varicose. But the blood circulation in the skin over the vein is slowed down. And if you stuff your ankle against the coffee table or whatever and you tear the skin, it won't heal. You wind up with a stasis ulcer or a venous ulcer there. It's not a good situation as far as local skin health goes. But if you in the yellow pages, you look up vein specialists from your town and you're interested in a vascular closure procedure, a catheter closure procedure, and catheter closure, and they can do the vein closure for you.
I don't know if it's bone related, but I had a triple fusion in my neck as a result of a car accident 5 years ago. I am now starting to get some of the recurring numbness and pain in my left arm because they're telling me my C3, which is the disc above the fusion, is degenerating. Is there something I can do, because they want to give me an epidural and possibly put a synthetic disc in there. Is there something I can do with food and nutrition to help build the disc up so the vertebrae don't come down on the nerve?
Well, one, the disc is mostly water, so keep yourself well hydrated. It's really important. And again, fruits and vegetables are mostly water, so you eat a ton of those and drink plenty of water. There may be, when you want to, again, with this whole food plant-based diet, it's an anti-inflammatory diet. If there's any inflammation in the nerve root, and it swells against the bony canal there, the more it swells, the tighter the compression around the build. Well, an anti-inflammatory diet with a ton of green and yellow veggies will keep that nerve from swelling so much. So as long as it keeps the pain down, that's a good thing. So water and plant-based diet. With gentle cervical traction, they have these devices that you blow up a little cuff there and it expands the cuff that while you're laying down, you can put a little gentle traction to talk to your chiropractor about that. But if none of this is working out, that pain and numbness continues, you've got to get that fixed. And thank heavens it's available. So talk to your neurosurgeon about that.
Hi. I'm scheduled for a hip replacement soon, and so I was curious about your comment about the stem cells for the regeneration of the cartilage. Is that something that's available now?
If you're talking hip replacement for you probably need it, I suspect. That's an early degeneration where the bone's so okay, but the cartilage is pretty much worn down. But the bone architecture is getting damaged at this point. Get the thing fixed. Nowadays, it's such a slick procedure. I'm so glad you had it. Go ahead and get that procedure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm 71. I've been on thyroid, levothyroxine, since I was about 16. My doctor does the thyroid hormone stimulating test. Should I be concerned about having been on thyroid supplement?
No, as long as the TSH is not too low or too high, if it's a really healthy, low normal value, no, you don't have to be concerned. Your doctor can do good for you.
And I have another question. I have calcium pyrophosphate crystals in my joints.
Right.
Does taking calcium supplements exacerbate them?
It could, and so you don't want to do that if I were you. Just get it out of greens and nuts and seeds, but don't take extra calcium tablets if you've got sugar milk.
Yeah, I'm a vegetarian, so I eat lots of broccoli.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm 77 years old, and I have been diagnosed with osteoporosis for about at least 10, 15 years. I've gone to the Fosamax and a lot of other things, but now I'm on reclass. What do you think about that?
It's a long-acting Fosamax, basically. So is that the injectable that they give you, or is it a pill? They can't really replace, but it's all basically the same. They're all stunning your osteoclasts. And now that you know what to do, I would get on a bone building program with everything that I mentioned here, and get your bones stronger and stop that stuff.
I was on heavy prednisone cyclosporin for 3 years for a rare disease, and that really killed my bones. So now they want to put me on something. So I have osteopenia in my hips, and I have osteoporosis, like bilateral femur heads. And they said I have a 10-year really high risk of
bone fractures. So he put me on K2, which I'm taking, and D3 I take. But I didn't want to take any drugs. So they said if I do something maybe for a year and I get retested, the lung density, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So would the same thing apply? I mean, could you, with femur heads, would you be able to do that through the weight?
Yes, again, all these doctors, because they don't believe anything that people are eating has anything to do with these diseases. They let his ladies continue to drink their Cokes and smoke their cigarettes and drink their alcohol and eat their meat. And these ladies, yes, they have a much greater risk of femoral head destruction and all that stuff. But you hopefully you're not in there training. You get off that training. And so your femoral heads are going to have a different fate involved altogether. So no, I wouldn't follow the advice for those women. I gave you the advice for you. Follow that, and you shouldn't need any more than that. Yes, I'm taking the K2D3. Oh yes, that vibrational plate that you stand on and it vibrates. It seems to really help stimulate bones. I can understand why it would. So those are good.
I have a question about the vitamin D.
Yes.
Is taking a shot as effective as taking the pill? Is there any difference? In which
There's
do you
no reason
prefer?
anyone should get a shot of vitamin D. The blood level you get from that is so high that it causes hypervitaminosis D and all sorts of other problems. So, it's absorbed so well in these liquid drops. That's all.
You don't think it's necessary to take D?
Right. Are you talking about B12 or vitamin D?
I'm talking about vitamin D.
D. There's no one, I don't know anybody takes injectable vitamin D. It's absorbed so well orally. That's really all you need. I would urge you to do that. That's not your problem. That's vitamin D deficiency.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you got it.
I do a lot of sitting on a bicycle. Is that doing my bones any good at all?
It's helping. Cyclists too, and it helps. There's no question when we get some upper body workout and some lower body workout, not as much as the walkers get, but it's certainly better than swimmers. Yeah, it's not no benefit from their bones at least. So keep cycling and be careful. Don't get hurt. Don't fall. Keep going.
First of all, I've been listening to you for the past several days, and thank you so much for your research and your comments. You are That said, I've been osteopenic ever since I can remember. My doctor kept saying, take calcium supplements, take more and more and more calcium. So I did. Fortunately, I have now been vegan for 8 days. I was staying vegan, and forever.
Yeah.
My question to you is, I had a coronary calcium screening not too long ago, and I have a very high coronary calcium score, which scares me to death. Fortunately, I did fine on the stress test and the echocardiogram, no problem, but the high coronary calcium is scaring me. My question to you is, if I stick with the vegan diet, will that be able to actually break up the calcium and hopefully carry it away?
No. I don't think the whole picture came across in Dr. Cannell's talk. The calcium, I don't order these tests because I'm interested in what's actively happening in your arteries right now, how inflamed they are, how if there's plaque, how unstable they are, and those are revealed through their inflammatory markers in the blood test. In my way of thinking, those calcium flecks in the arteries wall, that's the rubble left over from arterial inflammation from years ago. The war has been fought in there, and the body is calcifying those plaques to stabilize them. But they're not active threats to your life. It's a marker that you had severe artery inflammation at one time. You may be having it at this time, which is determined by the blood tests in your diet. And if so, then get on an anti-inflammatory diet and heal your arteries. But the calcium itself really isn't a threat. It's a marker of arterial inflammation past. Doesn't pose any active threat to you now. And so would taking extra calcium be a good or bad thing? I would take these calcium-rich foods. I would eat lots of greens. And I wouldn't take any supplemental calcium right now. You need to just build your bones up at this point. So don't take extra calcium. Yeah, you read it at this point, but just eat lots of greens. You're going to be getting calcium, but just don't do it for a supplement right now. Too much calcium all at once. Almost out of time.
20 years ago, I was diagnosed with osteoporosis and had very high calcium blood levels. I was told it was because I had too much activities in my parathyroid glands, and I had 2.5 of my parathyroid glands removed, so I guess now I've just got 1.5. I still have osteoporosis. What?
1.5.
1.5. So I still have osteoporosis,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if that affects anything.
That hasn't done any harm so far. Doesn't look. I mean, but seriously, the thing hasn't progressed. You haven't done much to build up your bone density, but once they took out that parathyroid, which it sounds like you need to do, your bone density has been stable for the last, 20 years. I would get on the program to build them up, but no penalty, no foul at this point. But don't get your bones stronger.
So that was probably a necessary
Well,
thing.
it was necessary. No, they did the right thing. No.
Good.
So,
And when we're walking hand weights,
Yes.
how heavy?
2 pounds, 3 pounds, don't need much. Guys, 5 pounds. Don't need to go more than that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to take these last 2 questions.
Okay.
I'll try to make it fast. Questions about calcium and vitamin D. I was given calcium pills. I was told I'm an osteopenic, and I took lots of calcium pills. Then they said my aortic valve was full of calcium. I had a open heart surgery. They replaced my aortic valve. Then I asked my doctor, could it be that I shouldn't take so much calcium if it's calcium in my heart? And the doctor said, I don't know. Do what you want. It's really, you don't know. So I'm still wondering whether that could have had something to do with it. But in the meantime, another doctor, so it could have, Anyway, in the meantime, another doctor said, oh, you have osteopenia, you need more vitamin D. Take the vitamin D daily and 50,000 units every Sunday. I got a prescription for that. Isn't that too much? I'm worried.
That's too much. That's too much.
I thought she said she takes.
Is anybody here on 50,000 units vitamin D? Anybody have that? That is for patients with kidney failure. Vitamin D is activated in the kidneys, and those people who don't have kidney function get renal ligaments, and those are the folks that 50,000 units is intended for. But unless you've got kidney failure, do not be taking those pills with 50,000. That's lazy, insurance-driven medicine to be dispensing that to the public. You need 2,000. Go to the health food store and get some vitamin D with 2,000 units. Well, hypervitaminoses do make you sick, and we always start, and you're getting calcification in places you don't want. Yeah.
Postmenopausal for 10 years. Doctor says do the hormones for osteopenia that it has.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on bioidentical, so I would like to switch to that. Is there a time that you know to get off?
No, just contact.
It's okay to keep going.
Yep, and just swap it. Contact Women's International Pharmacy. I have any connection with the company, but they're good. I've read the company pharmacy I prescribe, but they're really excellent. And talk to their accounts, parts in there, they'll refer you back to the doctor.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're going to